guys, I'm Si and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation. Welcome to the Danny Batten Fight Show. This is episode number 40, I think. Never remember. And I always forget to check. But you can check out the video versions of this and all our other shows on youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation, as well as the audio versions at your favourite podcast and radio platform. Check us out on social media. You can also follow the Danny Batten Show now on Twitter and Instagram at Danny Batten FS for the latest MMA talk and shows if you want to streamline your Ace Podcast Nation content, as it were. So we've got loads to talk about this evening. We've got a bit of Bellator, a bit of UFC, and some big news on in and out of the cage, should I say. And joining me this evening, first of all, we have former Cage Warriors champion of the world, UK MMA legend.
That's
mustache, me. No mustache this week. Just a black eye.
Yeah, there's always I'm always bringing something new with my face, and yeah, this time it's a black eye.
Got to switch it up.
Yeah.
It was sure. Was he not your missus when she saw that mustache? She slapped it off your face. And we have a very special guest joining us. Is Cage Warriors featherweight. Some have called him the Welsh Khabib, Mr Ben Ellis. Are you right?
Yeah, guys. Yeah, I'm all good. How are you guys doing?
All good.
We're all good.
All good. So I don't know where to start. Let's start with Dustin Poirier and Tony Ferguson from what was potentially looking like the greatest MMA card of all time for UFC 254 is off because the UFC could not come to terms with Dustin Poirier. Danny, what do you think about that, mate? Disappointing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely gutted. Yeah, that was one I really wanted to see, but I'm sure for Poirier to not agree to fight, there's obviously something not untoward, but you know, we were talking just off air, wasn't we? You know, he deserved to get what he expects to get, and there's obviously something going down with the finances, and yeah, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, it's big gutting. I'm hoping that because there's quite a bit of time between now and then, not loads, but there's about a month. I'm hoping that maybe it's a bit of negotiating tactic, and maybe they'll be able to find something. But obviously, as the days pass and the weeks pass, it gets less and less likely. So looks like it's going to be put on the back burner.
Yeah.
Dana White has said he's not interested in salvaging the fight, which I was quite surprised. What do you make of this, Ben?
I'm gutted as well. I think Poirier's resume speaks for itself in terms of how willing he is to fight. So if he's saying that he can't come to terms, find it hard to imagine that all of a sudden he's the one that's being unreasonable.
Yeah.
But I say Dana and the UFC, like, they're intelligent enough to know that when something goes public, they can't now back down, because every single fighter with any like decent profile is going to do the same thing. They're just going to dig their feet in and ask for more money, which they probably should be getting. But the UFC,
100%. I think like we've talked, Danny, before about the ESPN deal was incredible for the UFC, but it didn't really help the fighters a great deal, because what they lost was the leverage at the negotiating table. If they did do if they were on a card or they were main eventing on a card which did a load of pay-per-view buys, they lost leverage, because previously that would have got them paid extra and they would have got a lot of money. But because now ESPN paid a flat rate to the UFC, and then all the pay-per-view money goes to the ESPN, depending on how many they sell, I think it makes it a bit more difficult for the fighters to negotiate their worth, really. And, you know, like you say, do you know what I think, though? I wonder whether, because that card was so stacked, like Ferguson versus Poirier in itself is a main event, So I wonder whether the UFC is not that bothered because they could use it to main event UFC 255 or 256 quite easily. Do you think, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah, you just but the good thing about everything is that with that UFC card, it is that fantastic. Okay, so we're losing one that would have been a really interesting matchup, but my God, we've still got some really good ones to watch anyway. So,
oh yeah, and I'm sure there'll be I'm sure the prelims would have been good as well. So I'm sure they'll just bump a fight up from there, and it'll
yeah,
be just as good. Um, Another bit of wild news: Conor McGregor has been arrested again. This time for indecent exposure and attempted sexual assault, both of which he is vigorously denied and has been released by the authorities. So he's not being held or anything like that. This isn't like a historical thing. It's happened something which has happened in the last few days. Dana White says he doesn't know enough about it, so he said as far as he's concerned, Conor is retired, hasn't talked to him. But what is interesting or ironic, I suppose, about this is in the days before his arrest was announced, he was kind of hinting on social media that maybe he was preparing for a fight. He was putting up a lot of things about his diet. He was putting up a lot of things about his training regime, which is normally something which he does when he's getting ready to go in or in fight camp. So obviously we can't really talk to the allegations themselves because we weren't there. We don't know what's going on, legal, blah blah blah. But in terms of Conor McGregor, the fighter, he does seem to court controversy. Whatever happens, Danny.
yeah, it does seem that way. Yes, I mean, you can't really comment anymore because we need to know more at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, also being a wealthy man and as famous as he is, he's also a target of exaggerated terms. But I don't want to sort of be seen by saying that because it's a potential sexual.
Yeah, of course. But what we
thing,
can say, mate, is when you've got as much money and you're as famous as he is, it must be very difficult to just to go out for a night out without being harassed by a load of people asking for photos and drinks and whatever it may be. It's got to be difficult. And like even little things, mate. Like when you meet new people, it must be very difficult to make new friends because you don't know. Are they just being friendly because of how much money I got, or how famous I am, or is there something in it for them, kind of thing? It must be a bit of a minefield and a mind must screw with the mind, mate. It's got to.
I'll take with that screwy mind just for that sort of money. I'll handle it just fine.
Well, mate, if I had that much money, I wouldn't go out. I'd just stay in my villa and wouldn't mix with the general public. What do you make of it all, Ben?
I struggle with him, to be honest. Don't know anything about him as a person, so try not to judge him on allegations because you never know the merit behind them. I know there was one in there about that him fathering a kid in Liverpool, and it turned out to be bullshit. But it took him 2 years and a paternity test to prove that.
And that's the problem, isn't it? It's someone can mud sticks, and it shouldn't. But when we would talked about this, me and you, Ben, just before when we were waiting for Danny, off air, we said about this was all over the papers today. Massive write-in, Conor McGregor arrested, front page news, blah blah blah. If this turns out to be a load of bullshit, and I will say if, because we don't know, but if it does, the apology or the retractions in the papers will be 2 lines on page 23 or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It won't be the same level, and I think that's why with celebrities of any kind or well-known people, mud does tend to stick because so many times when these things are retracted, which they are, I think you'd be surprised how many get retracted, but people don't know about it because it's not reported to the same level as the accusations. So being that you're not a massive fan of him, Ben, do you think we ever see him fight again in the UFC?
Probably say no. I feel like he's not really willing to take a legitimate threat from someone who's not in the immediate title picture. So I'm thinking of someone who's like ranked 4th or 5th, probably someone like Poirier. Like, he's not willing to basically torture himself in training camp for that fight.
Yeah, he wants Gaethje or Khabib or nothing.
Yeah, but then he's not going to be able to skip the queue anymore. Because Dana's already dug his feet in on that, like, as he should. So they say unless he it was when Gaethje was calling him out and he fought Cowboy. I think that was the turning point for me.
Yeah, what's weird about it though? Well, do you know what I find weird about it? And we talked about this briefly, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Is when he smashed Cerrone in like 40 seconds. I felt like, right, he looks motivated and focused. I think we're going to see him like really soon after in a big fight. And I felt like that was the plan. And then obviously COVID hit. And for me, if I'm Dana White, the two fighters who I'm not having fight in arenas with no fans is probably John Jones and Conor McGregor. Everyone else I'd probably have fight. But they are two which I would not fight have in an arena with no fans, so I would want to wait. But it gets to a point where you can't wait any longer. Like if they're still going to fight, they've got to fight. So it'll be interesting if this all kind of continues into next year, and there's still restrictions and all sorts. Danny, do you think we see him again fight in the UFC?
I'm going to say we are still going to see him, but not on any meaningful level. I think it will only ever be when it sits comfortable thing. I think Ben's kind of nailed it on the head, really. I don't think he's there to work and graft. I think he's just there for a potential payday or something that's got potential huge gains, such as a title and so on and so forth. But, he's got to re-earn his dues again. But I don't know.
Here you are then, Dan. If he doesn't want to skip the queue, if he doesn't want to kind of work his way through the top contenders to get a title shot, what about if we just saw him maybe once or twice a year in super fights? So maybe not necessarily against the champion, just like against some big names.
Like they created that other belt, didn't they, as well? So I know. As much as it's a silly idea, it can, create another matchup. And he'll just do
that belt, mate, was created. Sorry to interrupt you. That belt was created to keep Diaz happy. That was the only reason they created it.
Yeah.
I tell you what, the frustrating thing was it worked like a charm, didn't it?
It did, but then we haven't seen him since.
Yeah, but they would argue that they don't need to because of the money they made from that show.
Sure, you're right.
There you are. There's a fight for Conor McGregor.
I'm not a fan of it at all. I just think, as far as a business goes, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. If you can get Diaz to fight, I think is half the battle, isn't it?
Yeah. Honestly, like, how was McGregor convinced the vast majority of the world that Diaz, who's got, what is it? I think he's like 22-12, something like that, is a killer when, let's be fair, he's not. He's just, he's tough as nails and he's got good jiu-jitsu and he's very, very fit.
Yeah.
But it's like, you've seen him get his ass handed to him plenty of times, like Roy. Etc., etc. But then he convinced everyone that he's all this, and I don't think he is.
That trilogy fight would do millions of buys.
Yeah, it would. That's the annoying thing. It definitely would.
When you consider where both fighters are now.
Yeah.
But if you said to the public, Nate Diaz McGregor trilogy fight for the BMF title or whatever it is.
I say the head fuck though is I'd be one of them. I'd be fucking tuning in. 100%.
I'd be straight in there. Paying
everyone sees Nate. He's a G, isn't he? That's what the youngsters say. That's what I hear in the gym. He's a G.
Is that what they say, Dan?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it's worth watching just for that. Apparently.
I think we're about similar age, Dan. Unfortunately, I think.
I think we are.
I mock you, but I think we're about the same age. All right, I'm going to ask you both the same question. I want you to just tell me in a couple of words, less than a sentence, We've had Bellator, we've had UFC over the last 48 hours. What caught your eye, or what was your favourite moment, or most embarrassing moment? Just something which got you straight away when you think of the last 48 hours. Ben, you go first, mate.
Oh, I'm gutted. I was hoping I was going to have a few minutes to think then. I think off the top of my head, I'd go Angela Hill, Michelle Watson was awesome.
The female fighters in 2020.
Yeah, that was
incredible.
Yeah. I say what really sticks in my mind is like sometimes when you see a female fight, and I think Michelle Watson's really guilty of this, is like they do a lot of work out of range and they just kind of fall into like a point smash. Not all the time, obviously, but a lot of the time. But then when Angela Hill came out the first two rounds putting real obvious pressure on her, trying to hurt her, Michelle responded. And that whole playing slightly out of range thing went out the window, and they both really got after it. What a scrap!
Yeah,
amazing. Which we'll get into that in just a second. Danny, what caught your eye?
That Bobby Green and Alan Patrick. I mean, what was that Alan Patrick? But what was that Alan Patrick all about? I've never seen such. I don't want to sound critical because it makes me sound like a right seaman. But his whole MMA was absolutely appalling. And I don't want to take anything away from Bobby Green because I really rate him.
I thought he was very good, actually, Bobby Green.
Yeah, but technically and strategically, that Alan Patrick was just a disaster. Full of energy, but what a disaster.
Yeah, the opening exchange, wasn't it? What the hell was that?
I've never seen anyone shooting for a takedown and just fall off balance to his back. It's just bizarre.
Okay, so right, just before we get into, we'll go to Bellator first, just so you can both get ready. Ben, you got a fight on the Cage Warriors 115, 25th of September, 7:30, versus Kingsley Crawford in featherweight division. Are you already in waiting?
Yeah, I'm very ready, very confident, and just looking forward, patiently waiting.
Any miss? We just talked about Conor McGregor. Obviously, when he was coming up through the UFC, he was known for his Mystic Mac predictions. And can we get a little prediction from you for your fight?
I think I'll break him. I think at some point you're going to see him curled up, and then I'll finish him with ground and pound.
Knock him out from half guard again.
Yeah, so whether it comes from me knocking him down and finishing him with ground and pound or taking him down, I'm not sure, but I do think I'll break him.
That's the way. It's a nice little clip for me. Look, I can't wait for the Cage Warriors trilogy event. I really can't. It's going to be insane. At the end of the show, I'm going to ask you both for a couple of predictions from. I'm not going to go through every fight, but just some of the basically the fighters who've been on the channel or the show. I'm going to just ask you for some predictions for those, for a handful of the fights. Okay. So we're going to talk about a couple of fights from the Bellator cards, which I hand selected because there's only so many hours in a day. So first and foremost, Danny, we'll go to Taylor Johnson versus Ruth, which was, I thought that was interesting, shall we say? What did you make of that one, mate?
Yeah, I mean, at one point I was looking away because of the leg lock, what was going on. I thought, because when you put on there to look at this one as an extra, I thought there's obviously something that's big's happened. And when I saw his knee bending the way it was, I really thought that you wanted me to watch it because someone's knee's bent. How the hell did he not tap in the first place to that knee position?
Mate, I know.
I know I'm involved in the fight game, and I perhaps shouldn't be sickened by things. And I've seen arm bars, being put on, but that was making me feel sick. And I found myself looking away. Really nice finish. The escape from the leg lock was crude at best, and it eventually got him in trouble, and he got himself submitted. But I mean, a slick submission. You don't see leg locks like that work on the highest level very often. because once you've got some basic concepts, particularly when you're stood and the other guy's trying to engage your legs and they're on the ground, it doesn't take much to float the finish and punish with the ground and pound. But yeah, we saw some, crude attempts at trying to escape. He pulled it off a few times, and then of course, about third attempt in, he got nailed pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. What about you, Ben? What did you make of it?
Yeah, likewise. I thought crude at best. I mean, I've only seen the finish the one time, so I can't remember the exact positioning. But in the earliest exchanges of the leg lock, there was definitely no control of the second leg, and he seemed really don't want to say relaxed, because relaxed sounds too complimentary. He seemed just slow and not reacting, which is weird for someone like Ed Ruth. You'd think a highly accomplished level wrestler would have been exploding out.
Yeah.
And he just was. I thought it was funny because Josh Thompson complimented his leg lock defense.
Right.
There he's tapping. I thought it was pretty poor. Again, someone who, in fairness to him, is a really good fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the leg lock at certain points looked brutal. I could really see what I can see what you're saying. And he did get him to a leg lock at the end. And what's weird is the one that he submits to, it's a slightly different hold, but I didn't think it looked half as painful as the one which he withstood.
Yeah. I mean, heel hooks.
I'm not questioning
are
it,
horrendous.
by the way, because
they don't feel good.
But
But yeah, that knee position was so compromised. I'm really surprised that there was no expression on his face of discomfort, or it just looked utterly yucky to me. I think it's because I've hurt both my knees before. I've hurt both my knees, and I know what it feels like. And when I see that, it literally.
In general.
No, it's actually done through wrestling. But I know what that sensation is when you've hurt your knees, and when I see heel hooks go on, I just nah.
Can't be doing that to you, can you?
Oh,
that's interesting.
Yeah, heel hooks, those knee positions. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you try and leg lock me, I'm defending it and trying to leg lock you back. But when I'm watching it like that, that wasn't even a leg lock position where his knee was being displaced like that. That was just him not moving the right way while being set up, and it just made a bit of an unusual contorted position. It's been many years since I've seen people play a game of Twister, but I witnessed it right there.
Well, there we go. So what I do know is that if you ever annoy me on a show, I'll just bring up a nice compilation clip of people's knees.
You know what? I hope a lot of people have noticed in the last few weeks. You're beginning to pick on me a bit.
It's because you're in Northampton and I'm in Cardiff. That's right. You're far enough away.
Dear.
Next up from my hand-selected Bellator fights was Kat Zingano's debut for the promotion. I found this fascinating because I haven't always thought that she's. I don't know. I don't know whether I would say I didn't rate her in the UFC or whether I just feel that she didn't show what she could do. Because there's clearly something there. She's clearly got something to get where she is, and I've seen glimpses of it. But I never really felt like in the UFC she got hold of it and really showed us what she was capable of. What did you make, Ben, of her Bellator debut?
To be honest, I kind of have the same thoughts of everything you just said. I'm just not that impressed by her in general. But I'm a bit of a stickler for technique and certain things. So when I watch it, I'm comparing it to Nunes, Shevchenko, Joanna, those type, literally the cream of the crop. So I thought she was decent, but
decent without being superb. I thought she did a good job on debut. You could see she was quite nervous coming in at the start. I felt like she was a bit standoffish and a bit
which is weird for someone as experienced as her, and that's kind of what I mean.
And that's part of my problem is with her. Is when I said that she never really showed what she's capable of. I believe that she's a very capable fighter. I believe that she might have the talent to be a title contender in the UFC, but she's come in, she's won that first round without really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, she hasn't really gone and taken the fight to her opponent and really grabbed the bull by the horns. And like before the fight, I'm thinking, right, if I'm Kat Zingano, I'm coming into Bellator, which is, yes, it's the second biggest promotion in the world, but I think in terms of the standard generally, but there's a couple of fighters obviously who would differ, but generally the standard in the UFC is higher. So I would say if I'm her, I'm thinking I'm going to go in here and I'm going to really stamp my authority from the start of this fight and show everyone that this is now my division and I'm the best fighter. And I just didn't feel like she did that in the first round. I thought
A lot
she
of
got
wasted movement in there.
Yeah, I didn't I thought she got better as the fight went on. Holloway recovered a bit in the third round. I thought the second round, Zingano was a bit better. Danny, what did you make of her debut, mate?
Yeah. I mean, she done well all round. Am I the only one thinking that perhaps she was giving away a lot of weight to her opponent? Do you know what the score was with the weight? This surely wasn't a normal.
While you're talking, I'll have a little.
The opponent looked massive compared to her.
I'll have a little gander now.
Looked really big because when she got mounted, it looked like she was never going to get out of it. It looked really, really tricky. But the other girl just looked huge.
What did you think of her performance, like generally, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, good.
She's come in from UFC and with a big reputation.
Yeah, good. But opponent just made so many mistakes. She was getting taken down really quite easily. I don't want to take away from Kat's performance because overall it was impressive. But I just thought, well, there was an issue with the weight difference, and it was something I don't know what the score is with that.
I think her opponent missed weight, if I remember correctly.
It looks like she did by a fair old bit.
No, I think she did. I just clicked in my mind. I remember seeing a tweet saying she was over by like 7 pounds or something.
Right, yeah.
But I'm just having a gander.
And that's considerable when you think of the weight that they should be fighting at. That's quite.
Most notably,
quite something.
Holloway missed the 146-pound limit for a featherweight fight with Zingano by a whopping 4.7 pounds.
All right, yeah, they're substantial. Thanks. So that was the first thing I noticed. But Holloway didn't seem the most skillful in the world by any stretch. For Zingano, I think that was a nice, healthy introduction to Bellator to have an opponent like that. She performed fairly good. She's cracking on in years now. Was she about 38 years old? She got to think.
I don't think she's that old. I thought
she was not?
Early 30s.
I thought she.
You might be right, mate.
I don't know.
I thought she did as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to try and find out her age if I can get.
Yeah, she's the same age as. Well, she's a year younger than me, 38.
Yeah, 38. Yeah, so.
Spot on, mate, as usual.
Yeah, so.
We pay you the big bucks for.
Right, yeah. So you got to think, even when she was in the UFC, you would consider, you're kind of getting out of your prime. But maybe that's why we didn't see her shine. Because in the past, I've been impressed with her in glimpses, but she just wasn't consistent with it. And yeah,
and that's what I was getting at. Is like it's almost like you saw glimpses where you think, why isn't she at the top of that division doing this all the time?
Yeah.
It was always very, very short glimpses, or like she'd have like a 2-fight win streak and then lose 2 or 3 on the bounce, and it was just very frustrating. So Kat Zingano weighed in at 145.9, and Holloway was 150.7. So 4.7. It's a bit of a difference, isn't it?
That is.
Okay, Ben, I know you watched everything this weekend. Was there, just before we talk Machida and Davis, was there anything on the Bellator card which caught your eye in terms of the other fights?
Oh, including the Saturday?
Yeah, just any performances which caught your eye, mate?
Juan and I forget the other guy's name, something Mix, isn't it? That main event, I thought Juan deserved to win it 3-2, just based on work rate in rounds 3, 4, and 5. But the other guy in the first 2 rounds, he was weird as hell, but I thought he was really, really impressive. Like, I can see why. I think he was like 12-0 undefeated as an amateur, going into that like 13-0 as a pro. And you could see why he just ended up on the back from everywhere. I thought that was really impressive. Cool. But
What do you know?
think-
Sorry, but I was going to ask you because I don't know. The Raymond Daniels versus Peter Stanovic. Who won that?
I actually don't know the result. Obviously, I know why it was stopped, but I don't know what they announced it as. It's the one Raymond Daniels spinning back kicked into the nets, didn't he?
Oh, is that the one with the double with that groin strike?
Yeah.
Yeah, the groin strikes galore this weekend.
Oh, that was horrific. But yeah, I don't actually know what they
Oh, I
what
did
the
watch
outcome
it.
was.
I did watch it. It was one with the 2 groin strikes, wasn't it? Oh, do you know what? I'm not squeamish. It was like watching. It was like I was Danny Batten, and they were having their legs broken because it was horrific.
Yeah, it was hard to watch.
Not
So.
once, but twice. It was brutal.
Yeah, as a bloke, we all sympathise with that, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can get a double. If I can get a clip of that, I'll bring it up now. But yeah, that I'm assuming did it finish by disqualification?
Honestly, I have no idea what they announced it as. When that happened, I sort of just left the room and then came back for the next fight. I don't know what it was. I think it must have been
the
a
room,
DQ.
threw up a bit.
Yeah, it must have been a DQ.
Oof. Have you seen it, Dan?
No, I didn't see that one.
That was yeah. You don't do social media, do you? So you didn't.
I'm trying. I started off with the Instagram thing, but I've got to try and get more regular with that.
We'll get you on the show's page on Twitter as well.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Do some question and answers and stuff. Get you used to it. Coming into the 2020 world soon enough, mate. Okay, let's have a look if we can find this clip. So, yeah, it's interesting. Just out of the blue, but Ben, is there like outside of your own fight on that Cage Warriors card, is there one fight which you look at and you cannot wait to watch?
Mason and Proctor. Yeah, it's the main event on the Saturday for a reason, and that is a big fight. Off the top of my head, all of the featherweight fights.
Yeah.
Because at some point I'm gonna have to beat all of them.
Yeah.
And then another one that stands out, not just because he's Welsh, but because I think it's a really good fight, is Oban Elliott and Michael Figlak. Obviously Aaron Khalid as well. But obviously Mason's 3-0, Figlak 2-0. I think that's going to be a really good fight.
When you take out the fact that he's Welsh and he's a teammate, friend, do you think Mason's going to become the double champ?
I do. Yeah, I think he will. Just based on the fact that he's been able to show an ability to shut down range in previous fights. Like the obvious example of that's McColgan. McColgan's a really similar body type to Proctor. I think he's going to do something similar.
Yeah,
but
he was so impressive though, mate, for me in March.
Pardon?
He was so impressive in March, Mason was. You just think if he pulls out a performance like that, you'd expect him to take the victory. Right, here we go. I found it. Just for you, Dan. Just for you to have a little look at, okay? Can't keep it on for too long because I'll get a copyright strike. But
oh, it wasn't why it was down, was it?
This is the first one. So I'm going to just turn the sound off it just to avoid the old copyright strikes. Ready?
Oh, yeah. That was the first one.
Yeah, that's the first one. That's not a brutal axe kick.
You turned the sound off so we didn't hear the nuts crack.
Oh my God.
Poor guy.
Tell you what, though, fair play to him because he gets up from that. And there we go. He gets up from this. Oh, Jesus Christ. I love the way he goes, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it baffles me like through the adrenaline, like you don't feel as much pain as you do, but if someone hits you in the nuts, it does not matter how much adrenaline you have.
Like he's flat out, like he's been KO'd. So was that this? No, that must have been the second one then, by the looks of it.
Is it?
I love the way he's apologising.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been the second one, right? I'm going to take that off the screen because you'll get in trouble otherwise. But yeah, brutal that is. That's about as brutal a groin strike as you will see ever, anywhere. I don't think I've seen one worse that comes to mind anyway. That was not nice. You get up from that, Dan?
Well, yeah, I would.
Of course you would.
No. Do you know what? The reason I'm finding it so funny is because last week's training, it was the week of getting nut jobbed, and we got a young female fighter called Hayley Valentine. She's a tiny thing, 5 foot, but super fast, and she just she dropped all the guys with nut kicks. We began to think she was doing it on purpose, and seeing these poor young lads. Seeing these poor youngs, it just kills me. Sorry. Oh dear, it just hits my tickle spot.
Yeah, it's one of those things, though, mate. Isn't it? It just takes you down. There's just no getting away from it. Right. So I really wanted to watch the prelims of this card because there was 2 fights which really interested me on this UFC card. So I really wanted to watch Sajira Eubanks defeated Julia Avila via unanimous decision. I really wanted to watch that, but I also wanted to watch Alexander Romanov, who defeated Roque Martinez via submission with an arm triangle. Really wanted to watch both those fights, and I just wasn't able. I just didn't have the time to watch them. Danny, did you watch it? I don't think you watched any of the prelims.
No. I mean, I was speaking to you earlier, wasn't I?
Yeah.
So I've been on the road since 6 a.m. this morning. I've really have not. Wow, yeah. And out of all the days you asked me to look at extra ones, it had to be today.
That's all right. We're going to focus on the main card. But have you watched the prelims on the UFC card, Ben?
I didn't see the Eubank fight, but I saw the rest of them.
What was the Romanov Martinez like? Because I was really looking forward to that.
It was a good fight. Not Martinez, the other guy. I can't say his name. He's impressive. He can move a bit for a heavyweight. He come out looking loose in his grappling, was heavy, and obviously the arm triangle finish was tight. In all fairness to him, I think he's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's they both look like Eubanks and Romanov both look like decent prospects. Sajira Eubanks won by unanimous decision versus Julia Avila, and I think that was a big test for her, just to see how she coped with someone, because Julia Avila has got some decent all-round skills, so it was a test, and she won unanimous decision 29-27, 29-27, 29-27. Right, let's get on to the main card. So first up, we have Billy Quarantillo defeated Kyle Nelson versus a second round TKO. So I know it wasn't. It was 7 seconds into the third round, wasn't it?
I thought it was the second. It might be wrong.
Yeah, I've got my notes. I've got it written down as second round TKO, and then in brackets 7
was it not
seconds
third? I think it's third. I think it was third.
Yeah, right. At the end of the second, Quarantino had him hurt badly, and then stopped him dead early in the third. You are right.
Yeah.
Can't read my own notes. So, Danny, what did you make of this one anyway, mate?
Yeah, I mean, at the start, Nielsen was really impressing me. He looks a physically strong guy. Certainly looks stronger than Quarantillo, but Quarantillo's cardio was just second to none, and he really pushed in the face of Nelson. And you see towards the end of that first round, Nielsen wasn't liking that pace and that pressure. It did have me a little worried that Quarantillo was going to get landed on hard by that stronger looking dude, but after a while he started pushing that energy out of Nielsen, and Nielsen started looking more and more vulnerable and looking less and less likely that he was going to get any kind of meaningful counter. It was great pressure, really good pressure. I'm impressed with this guy. I mean, cardio for days. He really pushed a hard pace, and that was an absolute right strategy to do against someone like Nielsen.
Danny, did you think it was did you think it was Quarantino's cardio or a lack of composure on the other guy's part?
I just think they've got different physicalities. You know, one of them fights hard and he's physically strong in Nielsen. And to me, Quarantillo is not so muscly massed, and he fights much more relaxed. He likes to really push close to your face, and Nielsen weren't wanting that. I just think Quarantillo had that tougher mentality. He had the cardio, and in combination, it just got too much for Nielsen. That's sort of like how I saw it.
Yeah, because when I was watching it the first time, I couldn't work out whether Nielsen was gassing or whether it was just a lack of composure, because he really was swinging, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's
Like,
put, he
not
had
necessarily like in a bad way, just
yeah.
kind of maybe a little bit over the top.
But is you got your training partners that they sort of they spar stiff and hard. You get your hard stylist and your soft stylist, and Nielsen's that hard type stylist. And the thing to do with those people is to push that pace on them, and you've got to try and squeeze that energy out of them. And Quintillo did exactly that. He just didn't let up on him. He just didn't give him space. I mean, it comes with its risks, because someone like Nielsen's, he's strong. He can lump you up, and he can put the squeeze on you in certain positions if allowed. But Quintillo he drove out through pressure, any energy, and made him a sitting duck. And I just felt like Nielsen's nerve, fight on fight, war on war, he had less of it. It just looked like he didn't want it as much as Quintillo. Quintillo was willing to be in the pocket, willing to push back, no matter what was coming back at him. And Nielsen didn't look like he wanted it as much. He began to foul. I think the pressure got to him.
Yeah, I think. I like what you said there, Ben, or what you asked at least of Danny, because he was swinging, not wildly, but like he was coming out swinging, and it was difficult to tell whether he was whether he was gassed, but it was. I enjoyed the fight. I gotta say, I thought it was really enjoyable.
It was a brilliant fight to watch, wasn't it? It really
and
was.
I like. There's something about Quarantillo. I like. Don't know what it is, but there's just something there which I like. It was quite a brutal finish. The way he walked off, and
I find it interesting.
Everyone loves a walk off KO, don't they? But
100%. Yeah, I
thought his performance up to that though was good as well. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just a case of he knocked him out and walked off. He looked great. I thought up until then he did very well, and he showed good skills, and that just was like the icing on the cake. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, what was you going to say, Ben? I'm kind of curious what you was.
I find it interesting that when people have that style, even if it's not quite as like hard as what Nielsen's was, like someone like McGregor who relies on power, that 7/8 minute mark seems to be where they break.
Yeah.
So I thought that's when he really started showing like clear fatigue.
Yeah, absolutely.
It always seems to be that time frame, and I can't really figure out why, because I feel like in theory we should all be able to go for longer, but I can't really think of an example of someone who relies on power and doesn't start to need a break at that point.
Yeah. But you got to make these guys. You got to make these guys sort of like run longer or sprint longer. You got to push in on them, and then they begin to falter. Conor McGregor, he looks like a killer until he starts getting tired, and then suddenly he looks really vulnerable, and he's looking like a quitty type fighter. But he's got all the bravado, why he's got the energy to talk, and why he's got the energy to throw down his punches and kicks full bore. But he always looks super vulnerable as soon as he starts to gas, and that kind of happened with Nielsen. He just didn't have the fighting spirit. You look at someone like Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz as a good example, especially as Nate's been his opponent on more than one occasion. This guy, even if he was to get tired, he's still going to come forward on you. And that guy's that's toughness for you. I mean, not to say that being tough wins your fights. Nate's lost a lot of fights over the years, but that's a classic example of different mentalities in there. Styles, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
The towards the end of the fight, just before he does knock him out, like Nelson's done. Like there's one point he falls over where he's kind of chasing him right at the end of the second round. Like Quarantillo's walking him down, and Nelson wants none of it. He's kind of backing away, and he kind of loses his footing and falls over. And like he gets up at the end of the round, he looks like he's full of bravado, to use a word you just used there. He kind of marches back to his corner and whatnot. But I thought he looked done. He'd been caught with a couple of elbows in the clinch just before. But when he did fall, like he stumbled, it wasn't really from a shot. It was more, it looked like exhaustion. Which we've seen a lot recently, Dan, over the last couple of weeks, mate, didn't we? There was that female fighter, Agripova, who just looked
Yeah, that's right.
shot after the first round. She just hit herself all out, didn't she, after that first round? There was another one last week then where they're almost not pacing themselves, maybe. I don't know what it is, but like he didn't. Oh, that shot again. I just watched it again. It's a good little shot to finish the fight, I gotta say. Okay, so next up we're gonna look at. So next up we're gonna look at Machida versus Davis from Bellator because I missed that out, and then I'll edit it back in to the right place, as it were. So yeah, Phil Davis versus Machida. It was a good little fight. Their second fight went the distance with Davis picking up the decision via split decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. What did you make of this one, Danny? And did you agree with the decision of the judges?
I didn't think it should have been a split decision. To me, Phil Davis did enough to win it conclusively. And it's funny, you got Machida, who's sort of like, he lays and prays. He sort of like feints, and he can really make the pace not fast. It's like a quick draw. It's like it's who's going to draw first. And Phil Davis is not someone who puts the grind either. Phil Davis can be a little bit lazy at times. He always, if he wins, he does just enough to win. So, for me, it's a little frustrating to watch. I think they could have thrown down a whole lot more. And you know what, as a strategy, I would have been saying to Phil Davis to push with the strikes, to shoot in a little bit, even if it weren't to succeed with the takedown. And I would have been pushing that 42-year-old, and I would have made him one of Feely's years. But he just always just does enough. I just feel like Phil Davis always holds back. Really frustrating. I think he's an absolute talented fighter. I just think he just doesn't have that workhorse mentality when he's got all the physicality to do so. Just doesn't have the mentality.
But it's weird, isn't it? Because he has the ability, but but then also we say that he always wins, or he
mostly wins.
Generally wins. Like you say, he just does enough to to take the fights. What did you make of Machida and I've forgotten his name?
Phil Davis.
Yeah.
Likewise, I thought it was a pretty clear decision for Davis. I struggle with Machida in general just because I feel like he's too happy to be in these close fights where it can go one way or another. I know he's a lot older now, but I feel like if you're signing a contract, you got to sign it with the intention of doing everything you can to win. And I don't think he does that anymore. Like, he's quite happy to get into an exchange where it's tit for tat. And if it's, say, 60-40 in favor of the other guy, he won't put it on the line and risk getting hurt. He'll just sort of dust off and then go again in a couple of months. But like I say, Phil Davis, I watched a lot of Phil Davis because he was really successful folk style wrestling in college. Yeah. So a lot of my writing game is based on some of the stuff that he does.
Okay.
But when it comes to watching him fight in general, rather than snippets of his wrestling rides, I struggle with him because, like you said, Danny, he just doesn't seem to have a workhorse mentality. And I can't understand why. I mean, he ended up on top of Machida, I think, at the end of the second because he caught a kick or something like that. Something happened where he ended up on top. And he showed all the ability in the world to ride Machida. And I'm like, why are you not even trying to take him down? Like, you can make this fight very, very clear who's winning. But you're not even willing to try. The only reason I can think of is because he's worried. Let's say he goes 8 takedown attempts and he gets 2. He doesn't want to work that hard. And I can't really think why. It baffles me a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta say, when I see Machida's got a fight coming up, I don't think, oh yes, Machida's got a fight coming up anymore.
Yeah,
it's not really doing it for me. I gotta be honest. But I still cover it and still talk about it. I still watch it, but he's not one where I get excited before the fight anymore. I want to see more from Phil Davis. I want to see really what he can do if he pushes himself. Like, what's his ceiling? Do you know what I mean? Like Like, if he really went like hell for leather and tries to finish fights like this, which he's more than capable of doing, like, what's his ceiling? How far can he take it? You know, could he get right up there and get some title fight or whatever it may be, get that belt? And
unfortunately for him, I think it's something that you're born with. Like, you're either born with like that intensity to work, or you're not. It's not something that you can put into someone in their adult life.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the older you get as well, I guess it's harder to change a mentality or improve a mentality, whatever you want to say.
Has he always been this way? Because I've only watched him in his later career. I can't remember what he was like in his early days. Has he always been a bit lazy?
Yeah. He's never ever been the one to drive the pace. Never one to take the lead, so to speak.
Yeah.
But he's always been, genetically or clearly gifted physically. Got all the abilities in the world. Yeah, he just chooses to win easy, if you will. But win easy as in, conserving the energy, not win easy as in trying to put the fight away. He plays safe, I suppose you would say. But again, this comes down to mentality and different minds. Put someone with a much more aggressive attitude in that body, I think he would have had so much more of a bigger impact in the MMA world.
Yeah, I think I'd forgive him a lot more as well if some of his victories weren't controversial.
Yeah.
Like I say, there was times when even when he got the win, like that first Machida fight, wasn't it? There was a lot of controversy about who won.
Yeah.
It went on for ages, didn't it?
Yeah, like you look at someone like Mayweather who fought very conservative, but there was never any real question about who won.
Of course, yeah.
So it's hard to knock him. It's like, well, if you can clearly win while doing that, then good for you.
Exactly, yeah. It's a good way to sum it up.
Past that point.
Sure.
100%. And one bit of news which we did miss is the return of the GOAT to MMA. And that is Artem Lobov is back in mixed martial arts. He is fighting in Arena Fight Championship versus Yields D-Ron. Obviously, I don't know if he retired from MMA, but he went over to bare knuckle boxing. Had a big fight over there, and he seems to be back. Very, very quickly, is anyone surprised that he didn't go back to the UFC or Bellator and he's gone to Arena Fight Championship? No offense to them whatsoever, but he's got a bit of a name, hasn't he, Artem Lobov, Danny?
Yeah, he's got a bit of a name, but I don't think he's
on a three-fight win streak, man. 3-fight losing streak, man.
Yeah, I don't think he's a top-tier MMA guy these days with the climate. I've met the guy. He's actually not very big at the weight either. He's quite a small guy, but when I met him and shook hands with him, his hands are just messed up. I don't know whether it's from all the bare knuckle, but his hands were well messed up. So, but yeah, I mean, the guy's plenty tough. I just don't think he's the most skillful guy in the world, and I think with the kind of talent that's out there now, I think he would struggle in the UFC. So I just think if he wants to continue any kind of success in his MMA career, I think going to another promotion is probably the best thing for him, to be honest.
Yeah, in all honesty, I thought the bare knuckle boxing would. I thought that might suit him. To be honest, I thought he might do quite well out of it. I thought
he's tough as nails.
Because he is so tough as nails. Ben, you Artem Lobov fan?
I honestly don't know. I've met him as well at one of the Dublin shows. Seems like a really nice guy. I developed a lot of respect for him when he had some of his ground exchanges with Ryan Hall. Like Ryan Hall had his back for a prolonged period of time and couldn't tap him. So I think that shows the level of at least defense that he's got when it comes to grappling. But yeah, in terms of if he wants to have success, he's not going to have it in the UFC. I think most of the good guys beat him. He might do okay against some of them. But hopefully it's a decent contract and they're paying him all right because he seems like a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed. Okay, so back to the UFC card. We talked about Billy Quarantino. So the fight which you mentioned, Danny, a bit earlier on, Alan Patrick versus Bobby Green.
Yeah.
Tell me all about this.
Who's going
show.
first?
Go on, Ben. I tell you what. Well, as the guest, you can do the honours and kick us off. Alan Patrick, Bobby Green, take me through this opening exchange.
Well, basically, Patrick ran out. He had some sort of body lock, and it looked as if like he almost went. I won't say what he tried to do because I've only watched it the one time and I can't really remember. But the only way you could describe it is he flopped. He flopped on his back.
Like a fish.
Yeah, Bobby Green landed on top of him and then basically took control from then on out. And I mean, credit to Bobby Green as well. I didn't used to be a massive fan of it. It's just because, like, similar to what we were saying about Kat Zingano, like, he's definitely a good fighter, definitely UFC caliber, but just something there wasn't really there for me. But in his last couple of fights, he's significantly better. Yeah, I was happy for him. I thought he fought well.
Yeah, what did you make of this, Dan? Alan Patrick from Brazil.
Yeah, Alan Patrick
looks mean when he's waiting for that buzzer to go off, and then something happened.
Yeah, he's not a man that's the youngest anymore, but looked in good shape. He had lots of energy about him, but didn't have a lot of technical ability and had horrendous strategical. I don't think there's any strategy there other than just to go in full ball. But they can end up being quite, especially when they're fit and game, and he definitely was fit and game. That's one thing you can say about Patrick. So, Bobby Green, he couldn't just relax, but Bobby looks really impressive in there. He looks sharp. He's making good decisions, and I think sometimes that's why he's not looked perhaps as outstanding in the past, is because he sometimes just makes bad choices, and you just get fleeting, appearances of good performances. He's a little inconsistent, but of late he's been doing really well. It's like he's getting his game together. But yeah, I just wasn't impressed with his opposition. I really wasn't. It was slopsy-daisical, full of energy. I get that.
Slopsy-daisical, that's a word and a half.
Yeah, these are from way back. I'm proving that I am a lot older than you by saying things like that.
Yeah, it was such a weird start to the fight, mate.
Man, bizarre.
I thought Bobby Green looked so. He just looked
sharp.
Yeah, sharp. He looked intense. Everything just looked like it was at peak, ready for a fight.
Yeah.
Whilst Alan Patrick maybe did not. And it wasn't just that weird start. I got to say, I just thought throughout the fight, it was unimpressive from Patrick. Did you feel, or do you feel that Bobby Green would be disappointed to not get a finish, Ben?
Maybe a little bit, but in his defense, he hit Patrick with some clean shots. Like he really did. He was pinging his head all over the place. So I don't know. I think as a fighter, you're generally going to be really disappointed not to finish someone.
Yeah.
But when it's that clear who the better fighter is and how dominant it was in every area as well, I don't feel like Patrick can go over that footage and say that he had the better in any area. So I think if ever there's a fight where you're not going to get the finish but be okay with it, it's probably that.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Anything else to add on that fight, Dan?
Not really. I just don't want to sound like I'm being, critical all the time, but I'm just trying to be honest and
honest opinions, mate.
Yeah, I just I wasn't impressed, but it seems like I'm talking always about Patrick and how bad a performance. At the end of the day, Bobby Green done real good. We said time and time again before that you can only fight what's in front of you.
Yeah,
and overall he did really good. He was trying to finish it. He was trying to end it, but he couldn't find a way to do that. But he certainly found a way to look dominant throughout the match, and you can only but commend him on that.
What did you guys think of him dropping his hands like he did towards the end, where literally he was walking towards him with his hands down by his waist? I wasn't sure what to think of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know whether he was trying to get Patrick to throw so we could counter him or what, but I feel like I don't know if it shows frustration or what, but I don't know. I think when you're in there, you should be 100% on all the time, and if you're walking like that, you're probably not.
I think he was just frustrated that he couldn't put it away. And I think it was just a way of just saying, just trying to say, look, my level is way superior to you. And I think he's a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, I think he was trying to goad you in a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I think it was clear that Patrick was losing, and it was coming towards the end of the fight. Maybe he was looking for Patrick to, to throw something a bit loose or a bit flashy, and maybe counter him. But you're right. You've got to be switched on at all times.
So I mean, like, to his credit, Bobby Green was still slipping pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So he wasn't getting punished for it. But I'm just like, you do that against the wrong bloke at the wrong time when you're on your ass.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I totally agree. I think you should be switched on at all times. I don't think unless there's a strategy to be played in dropping your hands, which in rare occasions I suppose could be a good strategy, I guess. But yeah, it's a can
risky one, isn't
get
it?
you. Yeah, it's just not good etiquette, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I could see like an argument for it, maybe. Like, if he's, the problem is, as we've discussed many times, Dan, is it's fighting. Anyone can win at any point until that fight's over, and just because you're winning three, clearly you've won all 3 rounds up to then, or 2.5 rounds up to then. You could still drop your hands, whether it's a bit of cockiness or you're trying to goad him into making a mistake. You could still get caught and you could still lose that fight. So to me, dropping the hands is a needless risk.
Yeah.
When you're winning 2.5 rounds.
Yeah.
You're 2.5 rounds up, but it's a needless risk.
Yeah. It was perhaps unnecessary, but I think it was just a sign of his frustration. And the pace was on all the time. I mean, he never let Bobby Green be able to relax. He just kept coming at him. So there must have been an element of fatigue too, but I don't think that was the reason why he dropped his guard. I just think he's generally frustrated, and it was almost like, trying to say to Patrick, look, you're no bother to me. Hope to draw him in to try and land that shot. I think Bobby Green, look, he wanted to strike him. I think had he kept him out of range or been able to, he would have been lumping him up, and it wouldn't have gone to the 3 rounds, I don't think. But the only good thing that Patrick done was push the pace hard, and he did take some good shots, and he just kept coming. It weren't like he was perturbed, but it was just a messy performance.
Yeah,
indeed. Next up was Ed Herman versus Mike Rodriguez. So this one went to just inside the 3rd round, with Ed Herman defeating Mike Rodriguez via a Kimura. However, Dana White had some things to say to the referee, which I will discuss in just a second. Ben, what did you make of this one, mate?
The main thing I took from it, like I said, I'm so sad. Like, when I watch fights, I'm not so much watching the fight to see the outcome. I'm watching it. So what can I take from it? Like, Ed Herman's got like a really, apparently he's got a really extensive Greco-Roman wrestling background.
Yeah.
And you just saw the other guy shut that down with elbows.
Yeah.
Like something that Leon Edwards does as well. Like he said about, you wait for people to pummel the underhook, cracks the elbow over the top. And I thought it was just an absolute clinic of that. Which is the main thing I took from it. I thought that, it's a shame that the controversy's there. I think Ed Herman's going to live to regret that a little bit, because it was so clearly not low. I don't normally listen to the post-fight interviews because I don't massively care. But I listened to that one to see what he was going to say, and he didn't know what to say. I mean, I'm sure he's a top bloke, so take nothing away from him. And if you're hurt, you're going to be a veteran and do what you've got to do to get the win. But if it's possible to win and not win, I think it's probably that. But the Kimura mine was bloody beautiful, in fairness to him. Like, in terms of being clean technique, I mean, he had his arm touching the back of his head.
Yeah. That was another cringe moment for me. I was like, oh, wow, something's just going to explode here.
Yeah, I thought his arm was going 100%, especially when he said
Yeah. Do we know if he's injured or not? Is he okay?
I think he must be.
Gotta be, surely.
No
surely.
That flexible.
And it is pretty muscled as well. So, to be contorted like that, it's got to have ripped. Or if it weren't the joint itself, it's got to torn muscles, surely, or ligaments.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was horrendous to watch. But Ed Herman, to me, he looked really kind of washed up. He looked a little lost in there. And Rodriguez, he looked really good. right until the end. And yeah, what a shame how it all happened. Yeah, I would be embarrassed to win in that way. Well, for one, I would, if I knew I didn't take a dick shot, I certainly wouldn't be acting like I did, because it's for all to see that it wasn't one.
Cameras everywhere, mate, now these days.
I'd be embarrassed. I'd just be embarrassed. I couldn't do it. For one, I'm not I was never in the game to cheat. But to me, that's just tactically cheating. To me, it's just.
So we have this discussion every now and again on the football show where something will happen or whatever, and we 7:30 every Monday, by the way, and we do, like we discussed that there's cameras everywhere these days, not just with the cameras with the TV. They are literally everywhere because they want all angles in fights. They want everything. They want every single angle, and I think in the current climate with COVID and everything, there's even more focus and cameras and people watching because there's no one in the crowd. So every bit of focus is on those fighters. So you just, to do something like that is just, it's ridiculous, mate. So Mike Rodriguez need Ed Herman in the liver. The effect was such that after another shot to the body, Ed Herman dropped to the ground and appeared unable to defend himself. The finish was seconds away at most. However, baffingly, I can't. Why can't I say that word? That's what. Why couldn't I say that word? I've said it a million times. Referee Chris Tagoni assumed that there had been a low blow and stopped the action.
Yeah, I actually think it was that first knee that dropped it. I know the second one touched in, but I reckon it was a delayed response. I think it was a delay. Yeah, because sometimes that winded feeling, it kind of creeps up on you. Sometimes it's instant, but that liver shot, that's kind of like a delayed. And I think he stopped breathing with that first one, and that holding of the breath just killed him over by the time that second one touched in. But I don't know. But at the end of the day, look, it weren't a nut shot. It was treated as one, and Herman played up to it as if it was one.
Yeah,
and
he's got to say,
I was a bit disappointed in
that it wasn't a groin shot.
Yeah.
Dana White
I feel sorry for
impressed.
I feel sorry for Rodriguez. I really do, because he, up until that point, he was performing utterly amazingly. He really was. And okay, so he got submitted, but it really shouldn't have been the case. I think he pretty much stopped the guy. To me, in my mind, when I think of Rodriguez and Ed Herman, to me, Rodriguez is the winner. Just weird circumstances say he's not.
Like, to be clear, Ben, the referee has made an honest mistake, haven't he? But Herman, his reaction is not honest. Nor is it a mistake.
No, I think because he acknowledged he was hurt, and he said he phrased it weirdly. He said, "Oh, I was hurt to the body or the nuts." I'm not really sure. I'd have to watch the replay. No, I mean you know where you're hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just bad, isn't it? It's, so I just want to read. I like reading Dana White's quotes every now and again. He does drop some great ones, and this is pretty good. So he says, "It's hard not to bang on this guy. The worst I've ever seen," said White. He's fucking Steve Mazzagatti level. Some Mazzagatti level shit right there. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. That kid wins by knockout, technical decision, and then loses the fight. It's one of the worst things I've ever fucking seen. Disgusting. And then he starts going on about the athletic commission, replays, all sorts of different stuff. And that, I mean, it does open up that conversation for UFC have the ability to use instant replay.
I think that should be brought in.
They can only use it in certain circumstances, which to me is just baffling that you can only use it in certain, it's got to be a certain circumstance. And if you use it, the fight's over. I don't agree with that.
Yeah. No,
I agree. Limitations in it makes no sense.
Just have it there so that in this situation, they could have gone to it straight away, looked, right, no, the fight can continue or whatever. But to not be able to use it in this day and age is pathetic, isn't it? And let's be clear. Like the fight game is about titles and money, basically. Like you want to win fights to get to the top of your division, and you want to go as high as you can. Losses cost you money, and they cost you momentum on your journey to get up the rankings. So not only has he lost the fight, he would have won the fight with a finish. Like that's cost him money. Now, he's not Conor McGregor or he's not John Jones. So I'm imagining, I don't know him, but I imagine he's not living the life of Riley. He's not rolling in money. He's still working his way up, up the rankings. So this has cost him not just a win in the cage and for his record. This has cost him money. This has cost him a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whereas Herman is kind of, I don't know. It makes me frustrated.
Another example is eye pokes. Why not have like, I don't even know what to call it. Call them like a TMO. Somebody watching the fight on a record. Like the example that springs to mind is DC and Stipe. So Mark says he hasn't seen something. Straight away, little earpiece. Mark, just so you know, that was an eye poke. All right, mate, cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
5 minutes, job done.
Not difficult, is it?
I agree.
That works in reverse as well. When somebody thinks they've been poked, the ref hasn't seen it, and then the guy's in his ear on a microphone. It's like, yes, it was a poke, or no, it wasn't.
Yeah. It wouldn't take long as well, seconds. Regards that competition. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in full agreement with that. Well, I just don't understand why they can't have some common sensual approach to it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and it's unfair on the refs. And I mean, to make a call in the heat of the moment like that is tough job. Like, and it's acknowledged as a tough job as well. Why not try and make it a little bit easier?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. I feel like the refs made a howler there, though.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like to slate the refs too much because I think it's a tremendously difficult job. Like, there's not much you can defend him other than to say,
Yeah, but there was to us to say there's two people at fault. Okay, the ref made a mistake. We know that can happen. I really think the ref didn't call a nut shot because he thought it wasn't one. He really thought there was one. He perhaps didn't have angle. So I get it on the side of the ref, but it also took Ed Herman to play up to it as well. And there's two things at fault.
From like a morals or like an honor perspective, like I 100% agree. But with there being the win bonus, like I don't know what Ed Herman's family situation is. But like, it's not just a case of like, would he put his morals aside to have like say an extra 40 grand win bonus that he might be able to spend on his kids or something? Like that's.
Of course,
That's where
you don't know. Yeah, we can only surmise what goes through someone's mind. You don't know. Yeah, maybe his financial situation is of such where he just needed that win. You just don't know. But
you could tell. But going back to Ben, you said about his interview afterwards. Like he said, he phrased it weird and stuff. And he basically said, I don't know if I got hit in the groin. I think was the gist.
Yeah, it's a bit disingenuous.
Like, if you watch his reaction when he gets the victory, he's very, very kind of like
he knows, like
and he knows he's going to get some slating, doesn't he? He knows that he's about to have to face a load of questions about it. The Kimura is nasty, by the way.
It is really nasty.
I'm amazed if he hasn't got some sort of.
I really hope he's okay because he fought brilliantly, and I haven't heard whether he's made any comments about what's happened, but I just hope he recovers from it. And he was good. He's an awkward southpaw, looks sharp. Those knees look devastating, and showed some really good anti-wrestling because Ed Herman's a good Greco-Roman guy. That whole fight camp is good at doing that sort of thing, and Rodriguez stopped it. It was the original. What do they call it? Was it Question? The original guys that were all wrestling, and was it Quest?
Yeah, I got you.
I'm not sure.
Because he's been around for a long time.
So Mike Rodriguez's manager said that he's going to appeal the decision to the Nevada Athletic
Absolutely,
Commission. Basically saying, he's going to appeal. But then doesn't that only just get, it just doesn't get overturned, it'll just get turned to a no contest, won't it?
But still a loss removed from his record, though.
I think they've already paid him the win bonus as well, haven't they?
Oh, really?
I
correct.
don't know
like
why.
to
I've got
think
like
so.
a vague recollection of seeing something where they paid him his win bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to, that's the right thing to do, innit? You know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, how, as an ex-fighter and a current fighter and a coach, Dan, like, was that fight over if the referee hasn't stopped it for the nut shot? Do you think, will we see in the end of it?
Well, yeah, that was. I mean, he killed over. That was done. That was
It was like
2
seconds
strikes.
away, do you think?
That was 2 strikes of ground and pound away from having any of ref jump in between them. He went down holding his stomach. he was done.
Don't
And
see
Ed,
that a lot in itself, do you?
Ed Herman just didn't look himself as well. He's normally a bit of a grinder, but he was looking a little washed out. He's looking a little bit lost in there, and yeah, he took a couple of deep breaths. He didn't fight with enthusiasm. He didn't actually look like he wanted to be in there.
Was
To be
that
honest,
Herman or
Yeah.
Rodriguez?
Herman.
Yeah, no,
Herman.
I agree. I thought he was. Do you agree with that? That it was over if the ref hasn't stopped it, Ben?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the fight was done.
Yeah. Right. Okay. We spent far too much time on that. Yeah, even now, it's infuriating me. Let's move on to the ladies. So first of all, or next up, we had what's their names? Roxanne Modafferi, who's ranked number 7, versus number 9 ranked Andrea Lee. We have been treated to some absolute bangers from the women in 2020, Danny.
Yeah.
And, this was the start of 2 very good fights, I thought.
Yeah, it was really good. Modafferi was looking better with the wrestling exchanges. She always looks slightly uncouth on the feet. She's not light on her feet. She looks a little bit uncoordinated, but she's effective. And it looked like she was stronger than Lee and was able to, I don't want to say manhandle her, but I don't know how to say it. She was bossing her about a bit in there and looking really good. But Lee started really getting her groove in that second round. Once she got her striking going, she started to score up and rack up the points. But yeah, it looked like it was too little too late. I was really unsure how the judges were going to score it at the end, and I wouldn't have been surprised if it was scored the other way. But I just think Modafferi's wrestling and time of control was what edged the judges to give the decision to her. But yeah, but like I say, I stand by what I say. Look, she just looks a bit uncoordinated to me. She's not a natural looking striker. She kind of looks a bit like Clay Weeder on the feet a little bit, but that's not quite so energetic. Clay Weeder's not a nice looking striker, but he's got so much energy about him. He can kind of be effective to get the wrestling in and so on and so forth. And it's kind of what she was doing, really. But yeah, she did look a little vulnerable though. When Lee was landing and getting a rhythm, she started looking a little bit vulnerable on the feet. But Lee didn't look like she had that final little bit of pap on her shots. She just wasn't able to hurt Modafferi. And yeah, she looked like she was always fighting with fatigue the whole time as well. But that might have been Modafferi's style, that smothering style, taking her energy away from her. But yeah, good fight to watch overall. Well done to Modafferi. She's on a little streak now, isn't she? Is she not on a win streak now?
Two fights or 3 fights.
Macy Barber.
Yeah.
And then someone else before that, I can't remember who, but
yeah, and again, her performances, I remember she never looks graceful, but yeah, she grinds and she gets her job done, and I weirdly enjoy watching her fight, even though she's not technically most beautiful. Absolutely, yeah, she's clearly strong and tenacious, and yeah, she wants to be in there. She shows a lot of enthusiasm to want to be there, and I like that.
Yeah, Roxanne Modafferi defeated Andrea Lee via unanimous decision 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. And Ben, what did you make of this one? Anything to add further to Danny's comments?
No, I agree with everything. I think the only thing which is impressive / slightly worrying is I think Roxanne's striking has really improved in the last 2 or 3 fights. It shows how bad it was before. But yeah, to be honest, I used to really root against her because when someone goes in there and they can't do something, like in this case, striking, like it bothers me. I'm like, well, you're a professional fighter. Why are you not able to strike? No, I'm not saying a striker, but better than what you're doing. 'Cause what you're doing at the minute is poor.
Yeah.
But then that was my opinion. Maybe say I think 4 fights ago, and then the rate of improvement since then. Whilst this striking is still terrible, it's so much better.
Yeah.
Now I'm very much in their corner because of how tenacious she is with her grappling.
Yeah. I'd say that sums up how I thought about her. Absolutely. It actually comes to. I might as well hit you with this question now, Ben. I was going to do it at the end of the session, but it kind of falls in place. I was going to ask you, particularly more with the men's, lighter weight divisions. Everyone's so well rounded now. Everyone can strike at a world class level. They can pretty much wrestle or anti-wrestle at a world class level. Everyone's jiu-jitsu's off the chart now. Everyone can do everything so well. Do you think there's a place in the lightweight divisions for a strategic plan in a training camp? Or do you think those days have gone? Everyone's so talented now, they have to really adapt a plan as the fight folds out. What kind of...
Me personally, I go for the second one where you just see what happens in the fight.
Yeah. That's how I think it's going. I mean, strategy does have its place, but I think it's more strategy on the job. Your cornerman advising you in between rounds, to steer the fight in another direction if it ain't working for you. But it seems that to try to have hopes on a strategy on the highest level in the lighter weight divisions, I think it's almost an impossibility to try to predict anymore.
Yeah. Like you say, I mean, when you get to a certain level, and say you get matched with someone, so you go to your coaches, right, can we all watch this guy? Let me know what you think. It's like, if you're sitting there hoping that your coach is going to come back and say, oh, mate, you can't grapple. It's never going to happen. Or if you can't strike, can't wrestle.
Right.
It's literally never going to happen. They're always going to come back and say the same thing. It's like, mate, he's good. Like, what do you expect? He's in the UFC or he's in Bellator. So my kind of ethos for it is, I know exactly what I need to be able to do to win an MMA fight. So I'm going to prepare to do that. And then whatever aspects of that I got to use on Fight Night, that's what I'll do.
Right.
The only probably exception is when I go to fight someone, I'll watch all their fights and I say, all right, his most common route to victory is this. That's what he has to do. And then it's full stop, then I'm done watching it then.
Yeah, I think in a training camp, I think the only time you could perhaps have a strategy is when you're up against someone who's got a clear hole in their game. And of course you want to try to probe to push that skill set in that arena where he's weak. But everyone's so strong these days. I just wanted to get, you're obviously at the opposite end. My career's long done, a decade ago over. But I try to stay modern in my thoughts of how the game is now and try and put myself in the young guys' minds that are fighting today. So it's nice to try to get your perspective, being that you're right at the beginning of a potentially very successful career, and wondered what your mindset was on it.
Is on.
No way. For one, I definitely wouldn't be making no comeback at featherweight. Partly because they look horrifyingly talented at that division, and I'd have to lose a couple of limbs to make that weight these days.
Yeah, you are right though. I mean, the skill level's getting absolutely.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I've openly said back when I was a world champion, I really honestly believe that on a ranked amateur event, I think there's top amateurs at that weight that would have beaten me as I was back then. I just think that's the kind of difference we're seeing in level these days.
And the way it's developing now, like say for example, if I'm watching someone who's in the top 5 of the UFC being like, all right, I need to be as good as these guys. Let's say for argument's sake, I get as good as them. That's not going to be good enough. Because that's going to become the standard of somebody who, say, is between top 10 and top 15.
Exactly.
So I'm going to have to look at people like Alex Volkanovski, Max Holloway, and be like, all right, what have I got to do to be significantly better than these guys? Because by the time that comes around, that's what I'm going to need to be.
Yeah. Good way of looking at it. You're exactly right.
Like it.
Yeah,
me too. That one goes up. Those boys are pretty.
Yeah. Let's see how it plays out.
Mother Fairy's on a 3-fight win streak. She beat Macy Barber, as Ben said, and Lauren Murphy, and then Andrea Lee last night. So it'll be interesting to see where she goes next, because she's had some big fights lined up since she was in the Tough Enough, or she was on the Tough Enough finale card. She faced Sajira Banks at UFC 230. She faced Antonia Shevchenko back in 2019, which she won via a split decision. She was lined up to face Valentina Shevchenko as a replacement for Liz Carmouche. But I don't think she's ready for that. I think Valentina would destroy her. Yeah. She did face Jennifer Maia in a Invicta rematch, which Maia won via a split decision, and that was her last loss. Which is, I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch of that, because we watched Jennifer Maia a week or two back, and she was quite good. She's quite impressive. So I think that could be a good next step for Modafari. What do you think about that, Dan? Do you think that could be a good potential matchup?
Yeah, I think that would be a good one. Let's get it on. I love watching. You know how I feel about these female bouts. I just love how they throw down, and I think that one, regardless on whether it's the right or wrong fight, I just think that's a great matchup. I think it'll prove to be a really good fight between them both. I wouldn't want to predict who wins it. I've not been good at the predicting bit, have I? But that would be a hard one to predict who would win, to be honest.
I'm on fire as usual. I think that's three weeks on the trot now, mate. 3 weeks or 4? Let's say 4.
No, you got lucky last week, didn't you, as well? I'm just saying no more.
Not lucky, it was student of the game. Okay, last couple of fights. So next up was Otman Azitar versus Kama Worthy, who I was really looking forward to seeing. Big reputation, co-main event, big slot for him. Didn't go to plan for him. Ben, you go first, mate. What did you make of this? Didn't last very long. Minute and a half of round 1.
It didn't. It was like, I don't know. I mean, they both kind of threw fire with fire. And I don't massively understand why a professional fighter would put himself in a position where it's 50-50. Like,
I'm glad you said that, because I keep on banging about that. Why do you want to put things up in the air where it's just an equal playoff? I don't get it. You want to strategize to put things into your advantage, and
I couldn't get over that, because I think that could just have easily have gone the other way.
Yeah,
and I can't figure out why you would do that as a professional fighter. You want to think, if someone's going to look to do that, there's 1,000,001 other things you could do to shut it off.
So, just like for people who are listening and watching and stuff, tell us what you mean by making it like a 50-50 thing. Specifically, like what are you referring to, should I say?
So when they're exchanging in the pocket, like to their credit, both of them, whilst they're exchanging in the pocket, I'd have to watch it again to be 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure both of them, they were moving their head slightly at the same time, like they are covering up whilst they throw with their other hand or whatever. So, but it's still a 50-50 exchange in the sense that they're both throwing at the same time and they're both within range. Like, that scenario is always going to happen in a fight. That's just reality. But that early on, it's a case of, and they're both throwing so hard, someone is going to land and it's probably going to have devastating consequences. Like, why would you not fake a level change? Because the person has to react to that. Or, I mean, another obvious one is you could try and step off and low kick, but then the trade-off of that is if you're trying to step off and low kick and they carry on their blitz, sometimes that catches you on one leg. There's a lot of options. And yeah, I think that's a bit naive.
Okay.
It's slightly different from the fact that when Max Holloway did a similar thing with Lamas, you know what, like the last 10 seconds of the fight, he's like pointing to the center of the floor. It's that's a little bit different because Holloway's like asserted a fair bit of dominance. He knows where he is. He's felt the power. He's got a sense of the timing. And then if he's like, you know what, fuck it, let's throw down. Then I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. You know where you are, and if you're comfortable doing that, then do what you got to do. But that early on, you haven't got the timing yet, and that's why I think it's a bit stupid from both of them.
Yeah, two guys with they both came in with big reputations. Otman Azitar was under 17-0, I think it was. Kamaworthy, both, they're both known for throwing down as well. So I think it was kind of likely to go this way. Danny, were you surprised by the way it went, or the decision making when it went there?
I kind of felt that it was never going to go to a decision, but I didn't expect it to perhaps be over so quickly. But yeah, it's a little bit. I think sometimes when there's been a reputation being spoke about, I think the fighters fall into the trap of trying to act up to that reputation. It's like that Agapova, we keep using her as an example where the match where she exhausted herself. She's got it's been known to overrun people and just put her foot down hard and just go and steamroll her opponents. And eventually it's gone against her. I just think, if you're going to keep throwing down in those fashions like what we saw, it's going to go against you at some point. But let's not take nothing away from the victory. It was a great victory. Once some of the strikes landed, tasted blood, and went for the kill and got the kill. It's still impressive performance. A great show of power and combination and precision once started to land. I mean, once he landed, nearly all the other shots landed too.
Yeah, and that makes him 18-0 and looking good. Obviously, he's the younger of the two. He's born in 1990, so what's that make him? 30?
Yeah.
Oh my God. People are born in 1990 or 30, Danny.
Yeah, innit?
Going on. But yeah, I thought it was generally. I thought Ottman was quite impressive. Kamaworthy, not a happy chappy after the fight. Did he have any reason to be unhappy, do you think, Ben, other than his own performance?
I said I only saw it once, but I think that turtle position is a massive problem because to get up, you've got to put your hands on the floor, or at least one hand on the floor. When you do that, you're going to get hit. If you get hit, they're going to say you're taking unanswered shots. If you stay there and you cover up with both hands and you're like, all right, I'm going to wait for there to be a split second between punches and then I'll explode up, they'll say you're not intelligently defending yourself.
Yeah, so
not necessarily talking about that fight, but talking about probably the most recent examples like Dominic Cruz with Cejudo. It makes it really hard to judge. But like you said, he ate so many hard, really, really hard, accurate shots.
Yeah, they were really precise, weren't they?
Yeah, watching it, you're just like, Jesus Christ, these guys can hit.
But then, when he's arguing with the referee afterwards, and he's saying he shouldn't have been stopped. One thing I noticed is he's not that steady on his feet.
No.
Was he not?
No, not stumbling around like that guy after Modestas elbowed him out the cage and he fell back out the cage. He wasn't quite there, but he just looks a little bit like he's leaning over to one side and he's a bit kind of, and he took a lot of shots. I was just trying to count them then as I was talking, how many shots he took in that short space of time. So between when he turtles up and puts both hands down and the referee stops it, I think he takes 7 quick shots to the kind of temple side of the jaw, and they're all clean as well. They're not kind of glancing off his skull, or they're all right on point. And I think whilst I completely understand what you were saying, Ben, about you've got to put your hands down to get up, and vice versa, it's kind of from the referee's point of view, I suppose, he's just taken 7 clean, clinical, precise shots.
Yeah.
And he's not covering up, he's not defending himself. How many is okay before he ends it, I suppose.
Yeah. So I say, and the manner and the shots he took before it went down, I think that's a really big factor.
Yeah.
As I say, they were massive, massive shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing Ottman's next fight because he caught my eye, shall we say.
Is he the one who's training with the Dagestani guys, or was that a different person? Because someone was making a big fuss of a fighter who was training with them. But I wasn't sure.
Oh, isn't that
I
the
might have it
guy?
completely wrong.
Isn't that Anklev? I don't know. You might be right though. Right? But,
Yeah, I might be way off as well. I'm not 100%.
quick look, see if there's anything. No, I can't see anything. So I think it's probably one of the other guys.
Yeah.
By the looks of it. All right, then let's finish this off. It's been a long one with the Bellators and the UFC tonight. So we'll go with the main event, and in my opinion, absolute fight of the weekend. Probably fight of the last couple of weekends actually. Thought this was fantastic, and brought me back to the what was it? Amanda Nunes and who was it? Dan? What was that classic we watched earlier in the year?
You know I'm bad with names.
Nunes and
Well, close fight.
yeah, like it was just
a war.
What was her name?
So bad with bringing up names.
Say again.
Jermaine the Randomy, or was that a different one?
No, it was the one after that. It was the Asian lady, I think.
So you have to type it up.
Right, I'm gonna have to have a look anyway. But right, Danny, what did you make of this one, mate? Because I thought it was a bit of a banger.
Yeah, I enjoyed it from start to finish. Hill really impressed me in those first 2 rounds, and I was beginning to think Waterson was not going to be able to figure a way around the issue of this reach and the work rate of Hill. And Hill's takedown defense was really amazing. I know she did get taken down in the end, but her defense held up really, really well overall. But whether it was by chance or whether it was planned, Waterson in the 3rd round switched to southpaw and suddenly started getting success with that centre line dominance with that lead side kick. And then that seemed to really trouble Hill. It stopped Hill being able to take advantage of the long reach. And then the problem was being put onto her to try and find a way around it. And she never really found a way around that. Of course, she suffered that defeat by being taken down. So that was always going to be a worry, although a takedown defense held up thereafter. I wouldn't have been surprised if it actually went the other way, the decision. It was like, I was so caught up. It's actually one of the fights I'm going to watch again. I'm not too sure because at the end, I don't know whether Hill was actually taking back the round at the end. She really finished on a flurry in that final round. That round was really quite close to me. But yeah, that was the thing really. It was Waterson's other change of strategy to go southpaw. She was really digging in those side kicks. Her work rate started to go up and Hills began to taper off. And that might have been the undoing for Hill to lose the decision. But look, overall, they both had an amazing performance. I think they're both going to end up facing each other again sometime in the future, and I think they'll be notching up wins in the meantime before they end up facing each other again. Really impressive all the way through. Like I say, it's not very often that I take interest to want to watch a fight again, especially a 5-rounder, but that one I want to watch.
Yeah, it was impressive. So the fight we were thinking of, Dan, it wasn't Nunes, and that's why we couldn't remember it. It was actually Zhang Weili versus Weili.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Joanna John J.
Jacob. Is that the way you say it? Yeah.
But it was such my fight of the year. That is so far. That was just brutal strawweight.
Yeah, the cardio as well. The cardio is just incredible.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of Zhang Weili, and she is facing Rose Namajunas next soon as well, I think. So I'm be looking forward to that. But Ben, what did you make of the main event between Waterson and Hill?
Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant fight. I had Angela winning the first 2 rounds, Michelle Waterson winning the next 2, and then in round 5, I got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm giving this to Michelle. And then Angela Hill had that little flurry at the end.
Right at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then that's went off. For fuck's sake. I really don't know.
Yeah, I was in exactly the same position.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to know, and you'd never know without asking her yourself, if Angela Hill got heavy, like in rounds 3 and 4, because of the takedown or because of the pressure she was trying to put on in 1 and 2. So I felt like Angela Hill got, like, she seemed like heavy in the sense of like her arms got heavy in rounds 3 and 4. And then in round 5, it kind of balanced out because Michelle slowed up as well. Then it basically became a dogfight. And like I say, you never know without asking her. But so what a fight, and really impressive skill level as well. To be fair to both of them.
Oh yeah, it was very, very good, very enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I gave it just to Waterson, but same as you, Ben. That little flurry at the end, and I was like,
yeah, like you said, Danny, as well. Those when she started landing those side kicks to the face, like they really stand out, don't they? Like a side kick to the chop.
Yeah, I think maybe I think maybe Waterson got the nod on the decision because she was just being more diverse. She was throwing punches and kicks in more combinations, and she was going for the takedowns and did succeed with a takedown in the end. Well, if you think about what Hill was doing, Hill was trying to sit behind predominantly her hands. She was kicking occasionally, but she was looking more limited in her overall MMA attacks. So maybe that was what gave it the nod. But great fight. I definitely want to watch that fight again. I'd love to see them both fight again because they would have to put changes in. They know what to expect with each other. It'd be interesting to see what they both come up with a second time around.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay, so to finish the show, we have got a ridiculous couple of weeks of MMA coming up. I was just having a little glance of next week's UFC Fight Night card. And obviously, this is the Sunday before the Cage Warriors trilogy and UFC 253. So, like, the next 2 weeks of MMA is just incredible. So, next week's Fight Night main event of Colby Covington and Tyrone Woodley. And I'm going to go through a couple of these fights, ask you for your predictions. You don't have to give loads of detail, but just maybe just a name and a reason. So, Danny, Colby Covington, Tyrone Woodley.
Yeah, I'm going to go Colby. Woodley's just not impressed me of late. I begin to wonder what his long-term plans are. I know he's been talking it up like he's all enthusiastic, but he hasn't been looking enthusiastic in his last few fights. But if Colby was to lose, it's because he really pushes that cardio card, and that does mean that he could be opened up to Woodley's overhand. Is it his overhand right that he always lands?
Yeah.
It's his right, isn't it? That's deadly. Yeah, he could get planted on by that, but Woodley quite often sits and hopes on that as well. But Colby might just give it to him. But on paper, I think I'm going to sway it for Colby. I think Colby is just going to be too wearing on Tyrone Woodley. I think he's just going to outwork him.
Yeah. What about you, Ben? Who you got for that one?
Yeah, I think the same. I think it's going to be like a mirror image of Colby versus Lawler.
Right. Yeah.
Just pepper him, grab a single leg. Even if he doesn't try and finish it, he'll just grab it just to make him work. Then he'll let go, pepper him, grab it again, try and trip him, just make him work.
Yeah. He not only puts the pace on you, he does it in a fashion where he doesn't even need success with everything he's throwing out. He's just creating the anxiety. He's just not letting you rest. Yeah. And I think it'll wear on Woodley.
The only spanner in the works is I don't know if he's got a bit of an ego on him because he didn't want to wrestle with Usman, did he?
Right.
And I think because they've gone into like this who's a better wrestler thing, I don't know if he'll want to try and wrestle him and lose.
Right, yeah.
If he can't get him down. I think if that happens, if their striking exchanges are prolonged, he might be peppering Woodley and Woodley might just wing one over.
Yeah.
But I think if he's shooting and he's making him wrestle as well as strike, I think Colby all day.
Shout. And then we've also got Donald Cerrone versus Nico Price. I'm really looking forward to seeing Nico Price again. Ben, what you got there, mate?
I think Nico. Just because when someone relentlessly pressures Cowboy, even if it's not the most technical pressure in the world, he does not like it at all. It's only if he can stay in the fight and the pace will slow, then he takes control. But yeah, Nico's a wild man in the end. He'll just be chasing him the whole time. It'll be a dog fight and Cowboy will lose because of that.
Danny?
Yeah, I've got to agree as well. Donald Cerrone notoriously starts slow as well. Cerrone's just a nightmare if you allow him to get rhythm. he starts figuring you out and he starts putting the pressure on himself. I just think, as much as I've respected him and enjoyed him fighting, he's someone to me that should really think about hanging up those gloves. But let's not write him off. If anyone can pull something off, Donald Cerrone can. You just never know. But it all falls in Price's favour to win.
Yes, indeed. So, as I said, I mentioned this card was loaded for a fight night card. So there your main event and your Kona main event. Then we've also got Kazmat Chimaev versus Gerald Mishrat. I'm terrible with names. Danny, who you got there? I think Chimaev is dominate.
I think he's going to run through this guy. I just can't see the other guy standing a lot of a chance. I really don't.
Well, yeah, after he beat Reece Mackay, was it John Phillips as well? In the space of like a week, you'd expect him to do the same to Gerald. Without being disrespectful to Gerald, I would expect a victory for Chimaev here. Same for you there, Ben. Do you think expecting the same similar?
Yeah, same for me. Although I gotta be honest, I'm rooting for Meerschaert just because I think it's so disrespectful of the UFC to do that.
Yeah,
the two fights.
So I'm really rooting for him now. Nothing against Chimaev, but it's so cheeky. I'm rooting for him hard.
So for those who don't know quite what Ben's referring to there is the UFC booked this fight, but they've also booked Chimaev in another fight whenever it is, whether it's a couple of weeks or... Do you know who is against the second fight, Ben?
Damian Maia.
Yeah. So, look, it's clear that they've got massive hopes and plans for Chimaev because as soon as he beat John Phillips, they had him straight back in the Fight Island cards fighting Reece McKee. And then, obviously, it is so disrespectful to book that second fight after Gerald Meerschaert. So I hope, it'd be nice to see him throw a spanner in the works. And then, really, he should get the Damian Maia fight then, shouldn't he? If he wins that. He should. It's the way it should work, but don't think it will. And then lastly, for our little predictions, we have Johnny Walker, ranked number 11, versus Ryan Spann. Danny, who got you, mate?
I'm going to go Ryan Spann. I've really not been impressed with Johnny Walker in recent times.
Let the hype get to him.
Yeah, I think Ryan Spann, I think the things that Johnny Walker's had over an advantage with people, he's always had height and reach advantage. There's hardly any height difference. There's hardly any reach difference. I just think Ryan Spann, I just got a gut feeling that he's gonna continue to show that Walker's got holes in his game.
So for me, Johnny Walker's got to win this. Otherwise,
I
he's in real
absolutely
danger
agree.
of being cut.
And I think
the only thing which saves him from being cut at the moment is his age, because he come in, he blitzed those fights, looking impressive and looking good, and then he had that shock loss, didn't he? And then he lost again, and it's kind of like everyone's questioning his attitude. He cannot afford to lose this one, I don't believe. So I'm going to go with Johnny Walker. Ben, who would you got? Yeah, mate, it's a bit of a tricky one.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know much about Ryan Spann. I can't picture him. I can't really say. I'm shitting out now as well because we got a 1-1 split and I can't split it. But literally, I can't picture him. I'm gonna Google him quick, just to see if I see
Ryan
his face.
Spann, 6'5".
He's a big dude.
They're big dudes, aren't they?
Yeah, he's big. That's what I mean. Johnny Walker's got no obvious physicality advantage, and I just think he's been really effective because he's always had some kind of big advantage. But he ain't going to against him.
I knew Johnny Walker was tall. I didn't realise he was 6'6".
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Really
the big old
He's a
boy.
big guy.
Yeah.
So are you going to?
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah. So is Ryan Spann. I didn't know.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Oh yeah. So
he's a big guy.
You got to split us, Ben. You've got to make the final vote.
I'd tell you what, based purely on the fact that he's in good nick, I'll go for Ryan Spann. I can't remember him, but he's in good shape, to be fair to him. So yeah, I'll go for him.
Thank you for your vote. Unfortunately, you lost, but don't take it personally. Danny's been losing for the last 5 weeks or so.
Oh wow!
Don't worry about it. No, I'm not playing. Just having a quick look on the prelims, see if there's anything which really takes my eye, which I want to get a prediction for. But there's nothing there at the moment. Although there's a couple of fights I like the look of. But yeah, so that's that. That's all the UFC and Bellator and stuff for this weekend. We'll be back next Wednesday, getting ready for a massive week. We'll be previewing the Cage Warriors trilogy. We'll be also previewing UFC 253. And of course, we'll be going through the results of the card that we just did the predictions from. Ben, thank you for joining us, mate. I really, really appreciate it. Appreciate your time. I know it's been a bit of a long one as well, because you did that other thing for me before. But I, appreciate you joining us, mate. It's been a lot of fun, and definitely like to have you back.
Yeah, no, thank you both for having me on. I enjoyed myself. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. I mean, I've never got to speak to you ever before, Ben, but really liked what you had to say. You're clearly passionate about the sport as well. I can tell you're slightly obsessive with your personality as well. It seems with your approach on it. Yeah. And that's how I saw myself about years ago. I can definitely tell, not only from your performance that I've seen, but I can tell by your mindset that you're going to go far. I'll be watching with interest on your career.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries, buddy.
Yeah, you'll have to come back on, Ben, after you've had your victory at the Cage Warriors trilogy card.
Yeah, 100%.
What's your fight nickname?
Oh, I don't have one. I'll tell you why. There's a Nick Diaz video. I think it's either Nick or Nick. And they ask him about a nickname, and he goes on a little rant, and he's like, "Oh, you think this is a fucking joke? My name's fucking." And then once I heard that, I was like, "Oh shit, I can't have a nickname now."
Like it.
Some of the boys, they mess about with the Welsh Khabib thing, but I don't like that too much. Like, it's just because I'm my own guy. I'm not trying to impersonate anyone.
Yeah.
But it's just a bit of a joke. The Cage Warriors guys could use it for the for that video they put up. So yeah, happy days. It sounds good anyway, so I'll take that.
Yeah, it's not a bad little thing, and then when people are promoting you and stuff, it's just like a little thing. It's not the worst thing, is it?
Yeah.
There's worse fighters to be compared to.
Yeah, true. It's better than CM Punk, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Jesus Christ. The Welsh CM Punk. Ben Ellis. Thank you for joining us, mate. See, he doesn't have the same ring, does it?
Definitely.
Whereas if I say the Welsh Khabib, thanks for joining us, Ben Ellis. There we go. Top quality.
Yeah, happy days.
Top man. We'll be back next week, probably with another guest. I'm still waiting for Danny to confirm it. And
all right, yeah, they'll be okay.
And
that was all right.
We got lots of guests coming up, lots of shows coming up, and I'll also be dropping more exclusive interviews with the Cage Warriors fighters getting ahead of the trilogy, and including Mr. Ben Ellis talking about his fight coming up. But in the meantime, we will see you next Wednesday for another episode of the Danny Batten Fight Show. Laters.
Defending champion,